So, direction of travel, journeys. In 2017, the Tory government opened up a massive can of worms when they said that they wanted to implement some of the recommendations of the Women and Equality Select Committee to introduce self-identification of sex. That means anybody can just change their birth certificate or get a gender recognition certificate which allows them to change their birth certificate without any criteria for that other than a self-declaration. And then they also said they wanted to get to change the single-sex exceptions. Now they stepped back from changing the Equality Act, but that process of consultation was opened up by a Tory government in 2017 about the Gender Recognition Act. My colleague in Women's Place UK, Kiri Tunks, before we set up Women's Place, wrote an article for the Morning Star as soon as that consultation was announced, really, begging the trade union movement and the labour movement more widely to let us have the sensitive discussion about things that would really affect women's life, because the legal definition of sex is something that matters to everybody, but it particularly matters to women, because women especially have need for single-sex exceptions that I'm going to talk about, and to have the legal definition of sex be clear for sex discrimination to be properly understood. For writing that article, there was a campaign to have her removed from her elected post. Time moves on, and then in 2018 we had a very good meeting in this lovely building, and then in 2019 the meeting in Brighton that Amina talked about, where we faced a barrage of protesters. Things have changed. We're having a fantastic meeting with Labour Women's Declaration here tonight, and without Labour Women's Declaration, I don't think that situation in the Labour Party would have turned around. So I just really want to praise them for their stamina and their hard work. And praise at all levels of the Labour Party, our MPs and councillors and party members and activists who have helped to open up that discussion. So it's an incredible trajectory, and that liner is turning has been turning, and we are now able to raise the issues that we initially wanted to raise back in 2017. But there's an urgency as well, because there is a looming general election and a government in crisis, and the Conservative policies that are coming out at the moment are terrible for everyone, but especially for women. And I don't know if people have seen the Women's Budget Group mini response to the budget, but it's just absolutely dreadful for women. Women are the main victims of that budget. So Labour have a responsibility to get questions about women's rights correct, and there is a window to do so, and that window is upon us. It's closing. What do women need in relation to self-ID and single-sex exceptions? Women need clarity. We need to know that if a service or a space is single-sex, women only, that means it's single-sex, it's women only, and that is on the basis of sex rather than gender identity, because a space which is organised around gender identity is a mixed-sex space. It's fine if people want to organise spaces and services around gender identity. I think that's fine. But women who want spaces and services which are for them on the basis of sex also need that. And so there needs to be clarity. And that means that we need an end to an incoherent policy which claims to uphold single-sex spaces and services, while at the same time it appears to commit Labour to bringing in some form of self-identification of sex. Working women are put in an impossible situation of having to square that circle, talking about nurses admitting people to hospital wards, retail workers who bear the burden of keeping fitting rooms safe. You know, it's not fair to ask those frontline workers to navigate this contradiction. And the British Social Attitude Survey that has recently been published shows that the public, as they've become more aware of the implications, they don't want self-ID, they don't support further liberalisation of the Gender Recognition Act in that direction, and they do want single-sex spaces and services. Women are vital stakeholders in the legal definition of sex and its practical application. We are 51% of the population. Now, people who identify as trans, male and female, are also stakeholders in that, and they are badly let down by extremists who claim to represent them, who abuse and harass women. And it's not just about the policy, we have to get the policy right, though that is crucial, but it's also about how women are treated in this debate. And if Labour can't grasp that nettle, they cede the ground, we cede the ground of honesty, courage, common sense to the right, to the Tory party. They are making so much hay over this. And that is simply for being unable to say, sex is real, it exists, sometimes it matters, and Labour politicians have to be able to say that. Tories are making huge political capital, and Labour needs to step up and demonstrate it's willing to listen to women and deliver what we need.
Thank you.
Thank you.